it doesn't really make sense that your chest muscles can grow when you train legs. They're ultimately two separate body parts that perform two separate functions in terms of movement. So how could the two be interlinked? Interestingly though, there are two ways that training legs can actually contribute to increased muscle growth both in your chest and other muscles in your upper body. So how does this occur? The first reason is that training legs can actually boost your testosterone. And when your testosterone is higher, that leads to more muscle growth in all areas of your body. Let me explain this concept from an evolutionary perspective. And please bear with me while I explain this. Trust me, it will all make sense at the end. So, your body, the human body, has two main functions: to survive and to reproduce. Every feeling that you feel or response that your body has to certain stimuli ultimately fulfills one of the functions of survival or reproduction. So, for example, when you feel hungry, you're going to eat. When you feel thirsty, you're going to drink. And those feelings ensure that you are eating and drinking enough food and water in order to survive. And the same goes for certain bodily responses that you have to certain stimuli. So, for example, when you go for a really long run, when it's hot outside, you start sweating a lot more, which in turn brings down your internal body temperature so that you don't overheat and die. So now I ask, why would the body want to actually produce more testosterone? Let me first reiterate that the body is only going to increase testosterone production in order to better fulfill one of the two functions that the human body has, so survival or reproduction. But what is testosterone and what role does it play in furthering the achievement of survival and reproduction? Obviously, testosterone has a huge role to play in the reproduction side of things, including your libido and whatnot. But for this discussion, I will focus on testosterone's role in survival. So, testosterone is a hormone that is associated with increased levels of aggressiveness, assertiveness, dominance, and higher energy. Typically, those with higher testosterone are going to show more of these traits. Given this, it follows that having higher testosterone can actually increase your chances of survival because you're more likely to win a fight if that ever comes about and ultimately survive. You're more likely to be able to competently defend yourself if a situation of danger ever arises. And you're more likely to, say, hunt down a wild animal and be able to eat that day and continue your survival. Now, obviously, some of the things that I've just said aren't really applicable in modern times because we live in a society. We live in a society that you don't really have to go hunt for food every day because you can just go to the supermarket. You don't have to get into fights all the time because there's a civilization. But the thing is that the human body hasn't really changed all that much from 1 million years ago when we were all just Homo sapiens existing in nature. And in those times, humans would regularly be fighting with one another. There would often be attacks from, say, wild animals that humans would have to fend off. And they'd also have to go hunt for food every day because there were no such things as supermarkets. So 1 million years ago, when humans were exposed to these kinds of things, testosterone levels were so much higher simply because it increased humans' chances of survival. But of course, in modern times, these things don't really apply to us. And so we've seen a corresponding decrease in average testosterone levels in men. So how can we replicate these kinds of scenarios in modern times in order to increase testosterone? Training legs or lifting in general is a stress to your body, just like having to fight a fellow Homo sapien would be. Perhaps not as much of a stress, but it's still a stress nonetheless. And when we think of the most difficult or arduous body parts to train when it comes to lifting, it's undoubtedly doing legs. Heavy squats and deadlifts are seen as the hardest exercises to do in the gym. And this is because they're the most stressful and they require the most amount of effort from your body in order to perform. Because they're the most stressful and require the most effort, it follows that the testosterone production that you get from doing those exercises is comparatively much larger than training your biceps, for example. And I think it's pretty common ground between lifters that a set of squats to failure is much harder than a set of, say, bicep curls to failure. Let me also give you an evolutionary analogy here to barbell back squats. Let's imagine that you're a caveman existing a million years ago, and while you're asleep in the cave, a massive rock that weighs 100 kilos falls on you. And now your survival is in danger. There is an imminent threat to your life. And unless you are able to get that rock off of you, you're going to die. And in response to this extremely stressful scenario, your body wants to increase its chances of survival. So what does your body do? It floods itself with testosterone, and that can help you and your body be more able to get that rock off of you and therefore increase your chances of survival. Now, think about doing barbell back squats with 140 kilos on your back. When you're at the bottom of that squat, it's kind of similar to that rock scenario where if you don't get that weight up, you could be facing a risk of death. Now, obviously, when you go to the gym, there are safety measures in place in order for the gym not to get sued. But as I said before, your body can't differentiate the feeling that it has when it's squatting 140 kilos at the gym compared to the situation where you're asleep and a rock's just fallen on you and you need to use your body to get that rock off of you. So the feeling that the body gets is similar in both scenarios. So during squats, your body is going to produce more testosterone in order to make you more likely to survive and get that barbell up, given the stress that squats present to the body. Although the danger to your survival is only a perceived one, and there's not actually a danger to your survival. So there you go. Lifting heavy on leg day increases your testosterone. And we know that higher levels of testosterone in your body generally means that you're going to be more able to grow muscle in all areas of your body and not just your legs. So when you have higher testosterone levels, you're going to see increased muscle growth also in your upper body. And as I just said, those higher testosterone levels stem from your leg training. So there you have it. I didn't clickbait you. Leg training really does result in increased chest growth. The second point that I want to make is that leg day is an inherently hard session to do. And so when you continually commit to training your legs, it's going to be absolutely no problem to stay consistent in training your other body parts, which is your upper body and things like chest, shoulders, arms. So those workouts become relatively easier because you're training legs. Because leg training is also harder than, say, doing arms. As I said earlier, a set of squats to failure is so much harder than a set of bicep curls to failure. It means that generally your leg training is going to be more intense than your other sessions. And by committing 2 leg sessions and committing to higher intensity sessions on those leg days, that intensity can bleed into the other sessions that you do for your upper body. And so when you bring that same level of intensity to those upper body days as you do your legs, you can see a lot better gains and muscle growth because of that. So there you have it. Training legs can actually build your chest. Who would have thought it? If you found this video interesting or it taught you something new, please consider subscribing to the channel. We're getting to 1,000 subscribers. And of course, leave a like or a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this particular topic because it's very interesting to me. I hope you enjoyed because it's currently 37 degrees where I am and I am sweating balls right now. So